Man, this cat, back in 78, at 54, he was a legend for like 3 years running. I mean, he was an animal. This cat brought the bass line with him. And the ladies, whew, man, his entourage, dozens. He was an animal. As in, this cat was an actual animal. This cat was a cat. A gray, short hair with green eyes. Looked like a gray Garfield. Here, let me put his favorite jam on. I got that vinyl here somewhere.
Why, hello, Mr. Hamilton.
His name was Alexander Hamilton, like the founding father. And this cat made it rain dollar bills when most disco scrubs were jingling change in their pockets. And small as he was, he always stood his ground. Well, nobody stepped to him anyway, on account of that great, big Rottweiler Dane bodyguard of his. Scary dude, never more than 10 feet away from the Hambone, except in the clubs. He never went inside. Hambone said the music made him too aggressive, so he used to stay outside while we partied. They used to bring a portable fire hydrant with him, so he could mark territory all night. Dog thought he owned every place he was. He wore this medallion with a 750 stamp. That was for what was, and still is, the single largest load of catnip landed in the continental U.S. Can you imagine? 750 frickin' tons in one load. Zero heat. Felix Gallardo even flew up at great personal risk to take notes from the Hambone.
You would not believe what I learned from El Gato.
Get this. He even wrote them notes on paper.
Him and Frank Lucas would get drunk and ask each other to define conscience. Frank almost pulled a gun on the bone once. Ham, drunk and high on his third day of a 4-day catnip bender, stood up at Katz's Deli and yelled, "This guy only gets to wear fur on special occasions. Me, I'm drowning in it 24/7. Good thing it was lunchtime and there were too many potential witnesses. He was ahead of his time too. He said some whacked out shit that turned out to be true. Things like, somebody's gonna take a shot at another president soon, Cosby's a secret asshole, and Stallone's gonna outlast 90% of these chumps except that young Austrian kid. You see, them Golds boys buy anabolics from me too." He also said he invented the word swole, and his benders were epic. His bouncer and us would have to drag him home. He'd resist all the way, yelling, "I'm living my 6th best life." He was loved, feared, and envied. A very young Iron Mike Tyson once saw him in the flow at Fitty Foe and asked Ham what the best dance moves were. The legendary answer, "I got one dance move, big guy. Dance." At first, Tyson thought he was nuts. Then he realized how profound a philosophy this was. He then proceeded to develop only one boxing move, the knockout.
He used to tell his friends at that awful disco that he had to go to the litter box and sneak over to CBGB's to say hello. We, my vampire goth band Tina Turned Her, had just flown over from London and were lucky enough to get gigs. Maybe it's because we filed our teeth into fangs and bled all over each other. But yeah, he was sweet. It was the drugs that got him in the end. The drugs and his irresponsibly competitive nature. You see, it all ended on a street corner in Brooklyn. There was this pudgy freestyle rapper. How do they say it? Oh yes, spitting bars. Hammy had been speedballing catnip and MDMA for days and was retracing his steps in the hopes of retrieving his lost stress ball of yarn. He happens upon this crowd so clearly mesmerized by this biggie that he instantly challenged the rapper to a battle. Of course, the only thing Hammer could spit by then was an oversized hairball. Oh, he was humiliated. He rushed over to my place and asked for my driver's license so he could rent a car and drive off. I said, "But you look nothing like me." He said, "I'll pass. I have fangs too." That's the last anyone saw of Alexander Hamilton. I do hope he persists somewhere, finally living his first best life. Miss you, Hammy love. I did so want to grow old with you.
So we're still unsure, but there might yet be hope. A paternity lawsuit in province of Alberta, Canada has triggered an APB alarm on Alexander Hamilton's DNA reference. Espresso, his bodyguard, had supplied the authorities with Ham's DNA when he disappeared. It is believed he settled down and found a first-rate loving home. If that's indeed the case, more power to you, sir. This is not a certain hit, however. It could be an offspring, for example. Ham was known to be all about the pussy, as it were, although nobody was ever sure that this wasn't a narcissistic self-reference. Our budgetary year has expired, but we've been happily green-lighted to continue next year. Until then, and if you're listening, Ham, many here simply wish to know you're okay.